Hello, Namaste, Fist Pump, Angus here, and today we're going to have a quick look at Matt Fraser's book, Hard Work Pays Off. Matt Fraser, if you don't know who he is, 5 times fittest on earth, CrossFit champion, all-round badass, but he has some really interesting stuff in this book on his mindset, his training, hints and tips. I love training books. I like this. I like hybrid training, so you grabbing from bits and pieces. And Matt, for me, is one of the most ultimate hybrid athletes on the planet. He's got some really interesting stuff. But this is the page. I'll also screen grab it, take a photo of it, and maybe chuck it up there. And this is the breakdown of his CrossFit Games Champs personal records. And I created a spreadsheet a long time ago using Charles Poliquin's structural balance. So Charles Poliquin had this thing that was kind of a structural balance spreadsheet, which in its simplest way put, if you've got pushing power, pulling power, squatting power, hinging power, everything can kind of be built off a percentage of your back squat depending on how well you are. So if you can bench press 30 kilos but you can back squat 250, something's going to break, because if you're not physically strong enough to hold the bar on your upper body, that squat will break you. Same with if you can push more than you pull, you're going to start rounding this way. So structural balance is kind of about having structural balance throughout the body. Ages ago, I made a video on this about Rich Froning, and he had damn near perfect structural balance. So all we do is take the spreadsheet. I'm going to be looking down here on my phone, but it's going to ping up here on the screen for you using the power of editing. So we have 3 columns. So one column, the first column here is all your lifts. Then the other column here is super elite, because that's the category Matt will be in. The actual spreadsheet itself goes from like novice, beginner. It's like 5 sections. And then this blue column, this light blue column, is the main column that we guys should look at. So in the little green boxes, you can put in your body weight. I think Matt Fraser's 95 kilos, or was 95 kilos at Gibbs. I think that's just what I've put in. But the column, this side, your right hand side, went brain dead there for a second, and you put in your actual back squat. So Matt Fraser's actual back squat, according to this little book here, is 223 kilos. This will work as pounds, and it will convert everything in pounds because it just works off percentages, but I'm using kilos here. And then it will give you, so you put that in the green, and then in the light blue column, the spreadsheet will automatically work out what your structural balance, what you should be aiming for in all these other lifts. And if something's too high, that's kind of out of balance. If something's too low, it's out of balance. And I'd give a little margin of error. People have different limb lengths, etc., etc., etc. Matt Fraser is quite a short but kind of perfectly balanced guy. He's not like a basketball player who's super long and maybe has super long arms for bench press and might be a wee bit out. Matt Fraser's kind of a perfect size kind of human being where all his limbs are in proportion. So according to this book here, his front squat should be 193, and according to his structural balance spreadsheet, it should be 189. So it's within a margin of error. I mean, if it was 10, 20 kilos out, we might worry, but it's just a few kilos out, which is cool. Let's see what else is on here. Deadlift, 243. So we've got powerlifting deadlift, 267. So Matt Fraser's actual deadlift is lower than his structural balance spreadsheet predicts for him. And I have heard recently that he was going for a 600 deadlift since he retired, 600 pounds, which is probably closer to this number. I can't do the conversion in my head, but it's definitely, that's 492 pounds. So I think he had room in the tank. And as a CrossFit athlete, he might not want to specialize in deadlift so much and reach his true potential, because he doesn't need to. He never needs to lift that heavy. So let's look at another. His bench press surprised me because it's 159. It's pretty decent bench press. You'd expect something decent from World's Fittest Guy, I suppose. So bench press here is 167. So he's got 159. He's about 8 kilos out. Should we shoot him for that? CrossFitters not really known for their bench press. It's more about their overhead press. And that is a pretty solid bench press. I'm pretty close. If you really want to specialize in that, he could. Probably doesn't want to put up too much mass on his chest because you're not really needing that mass. It's just going to come in detrimental for your body weight movements in CrossFit. So he's probably chewed something right, which is weird because Rich Froning kind of came out perfect in all of these numbers. So this might be for a CrossFit. You might actually want to underdevelop a few muscles. So let's have a look at his overhead press. So he's 95 kilos for his overhead press. And we have, where is overhead press? Military press is 100 kilos, pretty much dead, 100 kilos, 0.3. And he's 95, so he's 5 kilos out. He could have gone a little bit heavier on his overhead press, according to the spreadsheet. Really interesting to think. CrossFitters do loads of overhead press work, and I would imagine Matt has the ability to get up to 100 kilo overhead press. I don't think that's too far out of his imagination. But what Matt Fraser is really well known for is Olympic lifting. That's what he originally trained in. So we've got his clean and jerk. So in this little column at the bottom, we've got the kind of Olympic lifts show up. This is where a lot of people on the structural balance will be nowhere near they put in their squat, and then this will come out and they'll be nowhere near. And the reason they're nowhere near is because their technique just isn't good enough. This structural balance shows what you potentially can do if you have perfect technique. So if your squat is strong enough, it's not really your strength that's lacking in the Olympic lifts, it's your technique. So clean and jerk, Matt Fraser is 172, and on the spreadsheet here, he's 178. So he's a little bit under. So a few of these are a little bit under, which makes me think that Matt Fraser's squat is probably just a little bit overdeveloped. He's probably got a gnarly good squat for himself. If we lowered that squat, some of these numbers would match up a little bit more. And we got a snatch in here, so 149, and he's got a 143. So again, just a little bit under. So there's me thinking that if I was to have a look at this, I would say Matt Fraser's squat is probably a little bit not overdeveloped, because you never really overdevelop, but it's just really, really super elite. It's really up there, a good standard, and everything else is coming out just a wee bit lower to what his squat potential is. He probably has amazing form on his squat. Well, we know he has amazing form on everything. He has just a really dialed in technique on his back squat. It's probably one of his most trained lifts. So hence why it's good. So if we look at this middle column now by using Matt's weight, and we'll see. Guys, I made a boo-boo in this video. Matt Fraser's weight is 88. So I've cut off the end of the rest of the video, and I'll just do a voiceover this picture of Matt Fraser from the book using the spreadsheet to break down with his true weight, which is 88 kilos, not 95, like I said. So the spreadsheet, once you put in your body weight, it will give you beginner, novice, you lift, strong, proficient, elite, and super elite. We are only going to look at the super elite category because we're dealing with Mr. Matt Fraser here, 5 times CrossFit champ. So let's have a look at what his weights and lifts come out as. So, according to the spreadsheet, at Matt Fraser, a body weight of 88, at super elite level, he should be able to back squat 220 kilos, and in the book it's 223, so pretty damn close for Mr. Matt Fraser. Something to bear in mind with this whole spreadsheet is the spreadsheet is based on super elite levels. When you think of Matt, he's a top level Olympic lifter, top level power lifter, and a top level CrossFit athlete with these kind of numbers. He's really truly is a specimen. So his front squat should be 187, and in the book we got 193. So again, pretty close. He's actually stronger than his spreadsheet predicts. The other thing to have a look at here is bench press. So he's 159, and according to this, he should be 165. So he's actually under in the book. But like I said before, CrossFitters probably don't want to spend that much time bench pressing. It's going to be more detrimental the more mass you have on your chest. Yeah, it's going to be good for ring dips and stuff, but they're never really bench pressing in the games. They're just doing bodyweight push-ups. So a 159 is more than Matt needs for this. And out of these now, we've got, so according to the spreadsheet, his powerlifting deadlift, which is a normal sort of conventional stance deadlift, is 264, and Mr. Matt Fraser's got 243. And as I discussed before, I think Matt's got his deadlift up over 600 pounds, which would be closer to this number. So impressive work here from Matt. And again, probably doesn't want to take his deadlift to the extreme level because it's more than he doesn't need more than 243 to win the games. Now I'll have a quick look at the Olympic lifts based on Matt's body weight of 88 kilos. So his snatch there is 143, and in the spreadsheet we've got a snatch down at 147, so pretty damn close again. And then we've got his clean and jerk at 172 in the book, and on the spreadsheet it's 176. One of the crazy things with the spreadsheet, doing it on someone like Matt, who's obviously a very well balanced person, is we don't get so much insight. If you do it on someone like me that's got a 200 kilo deadlift and 120 kilo bench and a piss poor back squat, you can see that my back squat needs a lot of work. When you use the spreadsheet on clients or on yourself, you can see where you're lacking, and you know whether you're lacking, your glutes, your hammies, based on what those exercises work. So for me in the squat, it's actually not a strength issue, it's an ankle mobility issue. And that can be it. And same with the Olympic lifts, seeing what your true potential on your Olympic lifts based on your back squat is really eye-opening for a lot of people, especially when you see someone like Matt Fraser or Rich Froning can reach those levels. It opens up your eyes to see how much you're leaving on the table with just purely technique work, grabbing that dial and going through it. If that's your pursuit, if your pursuit is just to get strong at the powerlifting lifts, you can kind of create a balance between those. If you've got fairly proportional limbs, if you have crazy limbs like crazy long arms, you might be really good at deadlift, for instance, because your arms are coming closer to the bar, but you might be terrible at bench press. So these are things to bear in mind and something to work with a coach. But the structural balance spreadsheet is super cheap to pick up, really helpful. Plus you can make 1 million copies. So if you're a coach, you can download the spreadsheet, make 1 million copies and give them all to your clients as things to work on, and really useful tool as a coach or as an athlete. Anyway, that's my Matt Fraser breakdown. The overall review on the book is it's a pretty cool book to get into the mindset of an athlete. It's really split up into like recipes, workouts, tips and tricks. I picked up a couple of little pointers, so worth the price. Books are always worth the price if you can get one iota bit of information out of it. So definitely pick that up and look forward to seeing what Matt's going to be doing in the future. Anyway, if you'd like a copy of the structural balance spreadsheet, it's super cheap. It's in the description below. And thanks for watching.